Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Relate to This. I am Jay Tross. I'm sharing the stage with none other than Dr. Siegfried Howe. Dr. Howe, what is going on with you on tonight?
Hey, it's been a long day. Trying to get my food, but they just delivered it and it is all wrong. They had to take it back. It took an hour to get to us, so I guess
Wow.
it'll take another hour before we can get to eat. And so,
Now, you know what? Normally I would say something about that, but that's on our other show, Awkward Situations. And
yeah, I
since I
gotta do this show hungry tonight.
right. And but since I mentioned it already, awkward situation with Dr. Siegfried Howe. This awkward situation with Ziggy and Jay Tross. We are on Amazon. We are on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. Those who come on to relate to this, you're either having relationship issues or you're trying to fine tune your relationship. But at the same time, you want to laugh too, right, Dr. Howe? You
Yes,
want to
sir.
laugh. So we want you to jump from relate to this. We want you to subscribe to relate to this. But then we want you to jump over to awkward situations so that some of the stuff that we're saying here that we're being honest about and that we're being serious about on that other side, we actually may have a joke or two related to that. So I felt like I could throw it out here to you right now, Dr. Howe, that we're on all those other stations with other shows, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Um,
sir. And even more shows.
and even more shows to come. Yeah, definitely. Want to remind you that our show, this show, Relate to This, is brought to you by MEI, Making Education Intentional. Now, if you're listening to this show, if you're watching it even right now, and you say, you know what? I want my business promoted on this show because this show is going places. Different folk are going to see it. Hey, why don't you just drop us a line right in our chat? You can do it right in our chat. But you can be promoted here. We can talk about your business. We can support your business right here on Relate to This. And Dr. Siegfried Howe, our CEO, right here in this house right now for MEI, is here with us. So we thank Dr. Howe for allowing us this opportunity to share our programming under the umbrella of MEI. Listen, we're ready tonight to get started with our program. Just want to once again remind you, go ahead and subscribe so that every time one of these shows is either posted or we're going live, that you get the alert, get notified so you can jump on. And we want you to be interactive. We're interactive with one another, but we also want you to be interactive. Put that thing in the chat. You got a question, maybe we can get to it. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear about your relationship. We've stated this before on our show that when we talk about relationship, we're not necessarily just talking about married couples. We're talking about those who are dating. We're talking about those who are in friendship relationships and you have a friend and you're trying to understand each other and you're not married, you're not dating or anything like that. We're just friends, Dr. Howe, and I'm trying to understand my friends. My friends are crazy. And so I need to better understand how they think so that our friendship can also be connected, right?
Yeah.
So because relationship building is not just about married couples. It's about the friendships you create in your own space. It's about the friendships you create at your job. Dr. Siegfried Howe, who is a relationship consultant, a relationship coach, can help you and your organization and your businesses and your home life and some of the things that he does. And so we're unpackaging these gifts. And as we unpackage them, Dr. Howell is answering questions and he can help each and every one of us out. Now, Dr. Howell, I'm ready. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go ahead and get started
I'm ready
tonight.
to
And,
go, my friend.
and you know, I always like to lay some type of foundation so that we can kind of ramp up on that. I'm going to go a different way in my foundation landing right now, setting, and the questions are going to be. They may actually go with what I'm going to say, but I'm going to go in a totally different direction for a moment.
Okay.
I'm not for sure if you have seen this either out on TikTok, YouTube, or all these other things. But there was a post about a young lady who had been. She went on a date. A young man was taking her out on a date, and she was talking about the fact that, oh my, and I'm just paraphrasing, oh my gosh, he's taking me to Cheesecake Factory, and I don't want to go here. And I think it was like a first date, whatever it was, right? First date. I don't want to go here. I'm not even going to get out the car, right? So I know one of the mainstream person, I think it was Stephen A or something like that, and he was talking about it. And he basically said, what's wrong with Cheesecake Factory, right? He said, I mean, I like Cheesecake Factory. What is wrong with Cheesecake Factory, and why was she, basically so adamant about, oh, he's taking me to Cheesecake Factory and different things like that. So to fast forward, one of my coworkers had showed me a list. Watch this. A list of places that women do not want to go for the first date. At the top of that list was Cheesecake Factory.
Wow.
And then it went down, it named a bunch of chain restaurants, and then it went into like places like the movies, or don't want to go to, the movies, bowling alleys, right? So then I had to kind of analyze that, Dr. Howe. And I was saying, I was trying to put the TikTok or YouTube video from the young lady against this list. So what I had come up with was this, and trying to dissect it, that a young lady, a woman who is trying to get to know you, does not want to be necessarily in places that are loud, that are a lot of people and a lot of going on, because I want to get to know you. And so I'm at a bowling alley. I can't hear anything, right? I'm at Cheesecake Factory, which is always busy. You see what I'm saying? And so all of these different places. And then the movies is dark, right? So I was trying to kind of assume good intentions from this whole thing, whatever. So I'm laying this foundation right now of starting out. Question that's not even on our list, is not going to come on the screen. What do you think about what I've said? Now, you haven't seen any of this, I'm assuming. So just based on my summary of what is going on, what do you think about my theory as a first date? What does a first date look like for someone who is trying to get to know? Now, you understand, I did not say the first date for a woman or for a man, right? But the perspective, what does a first date, or what should a first date look like, Dr. Howe?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. There is no prescription for what a first date should look like. It depends on the two individuals, and it depends on your intent, and it depends on what you're trying to get out of that first date. I honestly believe that we have created a culture where the music and the movies have put a lot of stress and strain on people as to what to do for the first date. And so if a woman is going to evaluate a man and his potential to take care of her based on the first date, then he has to come hard. I have seen TikTok videos and Instagram videos where they say a guy should spend at least $200, $300, $400, $500 on the first date. My thing is, why would you expect such a large investment, and y'all not even at that point yet? Is your intention to just take as much as you can from a guy, or is your intention to learn whether or not you're compatible, to understand the dynamic between the two of y'all? Because if a guy is shy, Cheesecake Factory, where it's busy, you'll always find something to talk about. if a guy is shy or the girl is shy, then the bowling alley will give you something to talk about. And it gives you a lot of different distractions that you can use. However, if you want an intimate setting, that creates a situation where you must know what conversation you're going to have. And you got to keep that conversation flowing. And a lot of times, girls show up, women show up, expecting the guy to provide everything, and the conversation, the food, the ambiance, and everything. What are they providing for the first date? You know, because a lot of times I've seen videos where girls have attitudes on the first date. So it's almost as though I didn't have a meal prepared for today, so let me see who can take me out on a date type of situation. And so guys keep getting played over and over and over again.
Wow.
Because a lot of these girls don't have any intention of going any further with this relationship. So you're expecting a guy to fork out $3, $4, $5, even up to $1,000 on a date, knowing full well you have no interest and knowing full well that the relationship isn't going to go anywhere. And so why does it matter where I take you? As long as I'm not taking you to one of those fast food places, give us a chance to actually figure out whether or not we want to go on date number 2. So I'm of the school where I would take you to Cheesecake Factory. I would take you to some of the regular restaurants to see what type of investment you have in there, because both of us are evaluating each other.
Right.
Not just you evaluating me, I'm evaluating you. So I wanted to see what type of conversation you have, what type of mindset do you have, what are you bringing to the table when it comes to conversation, when it comes to energy, when it comes to your ability to add value to me in some shape, form, or fashion. I don't want to be the one adding all the value, whether it's financial, conversational, or whatever. I want this to be something that we can both benefit from.
Right.
You know, and so I don't believe that they're coming from a place where it's noisy and they want an intimate setting. I think they're coming from a place of, let me see how much I can get from you on the first date. And if it doesn't work out, I still got a $300, $400, $500, $600 meal out of this with no investment. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I literally have zero thoughts, but I have more of a comment related to, or an agreement to what you're saying, because I mean, you know, and based on that list, I wish I had the list. I actually deleted it because my phone got kind of full. But anyway, I had took a screenshot. But the list was, like I said, it was pretty much a whole lot of chain restaurants. And for all intents and purposes, and because you said something in the beginning about intentions, right? Of what first date, you know, and my question, you know, what should a first date look like, right? And you know, you right off the back, you said, you know, what is the intentions of each other, and for all intents and purposes, when you think about those first dates from like the you know, like from the early days, it's that walk in the park, you know, and you're passing by and the bikes are going by and the people and the little skateboarders and the skate, you know what I mean? So it's like a nice walk in the park to get to begin to kind of, you know, know somebody, right? But as we have evolved, it has become more of a commercialized kind of thing, right? It is the, you know, listen, if I take you out to the restaurant and you get a steak, you already know what's about to, you know what I mean? So it gets to that point. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's really all about the intentions. And like you just said, oh, you know, well, at least I got a $600 meal out of this whole deal. And it's on both sides of the track, right? What is your intention? Why are you taking this person to a mega fest or mega feast restaurant where the meal costs $300? What's your intention, right? in that aspect. So now let's talk about that. Let's go down that road of intention. So since we're here, since we're right in this spot, when you think about intentions and what you're looking for in a relationship, and then once you find out what you're looking for, my question is this, and you know, you can take your time and kind of think about it, because once you get to know a person, or as you get to know them, you're looking for some specific things in them, correct? You're trying to see, now since we're on a date road, you know, you're on date number 4. You're on date number 4, and by the time you get to date number 4, you're kind of, you know, filling them out and trying to get to know them, right? So the question here is, what gifts, talents, or strengths do you appreciate? And I'm saying most in your partner, but you know, as you get to know a person, and how do you express heartfelt gratitude? So basically, in a nutshell, is what are the gifts, talents, and strengths that your partner has? And then on that note, how do you appreciate them? How do you express that gratitude?
You know what? That's a very packed question. Let me share with you a concept that I came up with this week. And I've been building it up over the last 5 years, but I finally solidified it. And I call it the peace model in relationships. And it might sound a little familiar because it was one of the chapters in my last relationship book. Now, peace represents an acronym, and it stands for your process of evaluating, accepting, committing, and enjoying a relationship. And so that ties into what we're talking about, because we have to process what we're doing. So when you take someone on a first date, there's some processing involved, because I'm expecting some things from you. Conversation, I'm expecting positive energy, and you might be expecting food, and you might be expecting good conversation. We all are expecting something. So there's a process involved in setting up that first date and going on the first date.
Right.
But then there's also some evaluation. I'm looking at you and say, you know, does this look like this is going to be worth my money? Do I want to take this person on a first date based on the conversations we've had? Do I want to spend or blow $1,000 for someone that I have no investment in and they have no investment in me?
Right.
And so do I just want to frivolously give away that money? Or do I want to hold that money and pay a fraction of the amount so I can do more dates along the way of a higher caliber? And so we're talking about that evaluation. Am I safe to go on a date in the movies? You know, am I going to get attacked? How do I find my way home? Is it going to be an awkward situation if the date doesn't go well? Can I just walk away after eating and say, hey, I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, you blew $600-700, but I'm out. You know, so it's some type of evaluation there. And then we're talking about the accepting the fact. So if I actually take you on a date, I'm accepting the fact that there's some risk. You're accepting the fact that there's some risk, that it may not go well. They might have awkward situations. They may not go to date number 2. For the girl, he might try to go too far. For the guy, she might take me to the bank. And so there's a lot of acceptance that's going on. And then you have to commit to what might happen. Oh, well, yeah, I might blow the money, but you know, it's going to be a lesson learned. So I'm not talking about committing as in, yes, this relationship is full-fledged. No. I mean, committing to what might happen. The fact that you might blow your money, or the fact that you might have a horrible time as a girl or whatever.
Right.
And so there's some level of commitment. And then to me, and this is the part that a lot of people fall shy on in this day and age, is the commitment to enjoyment. We're so caught up in, oh, he's not paying enough for this particular meal or this date. I'm not going to have fun because I think he's cheap.
Wow.
You can still have fun even though you may not have gone to your first choice of restaurant. That does not mean that you won't get there eventually. But why are you so fixated on the amount that the meal costs instead of the time that you're going to have with that person, learning that person to see if they're a good fit for you? So I think we have our priorities all messed up, and so that peace model to me kind of gives you an idea of what direction you should be going in. And so to go back to your questions, if you can pull your question up again, your strengths, it takes time to get to the strengths. How do you identify what strengths your partner has and the talents that they have and the gifts that they have? If you're spending $1,000 per date, how many dates are you going on in a month? That's $4,000. If you go on 4 dates for $1,000 each, that's $4,000. How many guys have $4,000? And to sustain that month after month after month, I think that's expecting quite a bit. What are you bringing to the table that is going to make a person feel like what they're putting in is actually worth it? And I know, yes, everybody's going to say, yeah, I have values, I respect myself and stuff, but I haven't figured that out yet.
Right.
We haven't figured that out, and you're expecting me to just pour all of that money into you, and I don't even know if you're a good fit for me.
Wow.
So I think it's kind of unrealistic. And so how do I find out your gifts, talents, and strengths? If you put a restriction on me saying nothing less than $500 per date, I'm limiting how many dates I can go on, because it is going to be too costly for me to keep that up if you're a regular person. Now, even if you make over $100,000 a year, you still, in order to save money, you need to put a certain amount of money aside. And if you're just blowing $2,000 to $4,000 a month, by the end of the year, that's either $24,000 or $48,000 in just eating. You're trying to tell me that no, I'm sorry. I don't care how much money I make. I need to know what I'm getting. And I don't mean that in a physical manner. I mean, I need to know what type of mindset you have, what type of energy you bring to the table before I put in that type of money per month. And so I think we're putting the cart before the horse. I think that we should be looking at the long term. I am looking for X type of lady. I'm looking for X type of men. And you don't just start accepting meals unless you plan to go the long distance. You vet the people. You make sure that, okay, that person has the traits that I'm looking for. Have you identified what traits you're looking for in a partner? Have you verbalized it? Have you told your friends, okay, I'm looking for a guy 6 foot tall, 200 and let's say 20 pounds, all muscles, and X amount of education level, but I also want him to make X amount of money. I want his eye color to be this. I want his hair color to be this. I want it curly. I want it straight. I want him well manicured, but not too. I mean, have you specified what you're looking for, and have put the feelers out there so that the only people that you're taking to dinner, whether you're male or female, are people that are 100% potentials, versus I'm just accepting anything that's asking me out because I'm trying to get a free meal. And so to me, like I said, we put the cart before the horse. I think that we should have written down what we want in a partner, and everybody should know what we're looking for, so that people can say, you know what, I met somebody that might be a good fit for you. I haven't quite vetted them yet,
right?
But I'll introduce you to, because they have 8 out of the 10 characteristics that I have seen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
So I think that is something that we should be doing first before we just go out on random dates, blowing money like that, especially in a recession. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that once I understand, because it's connected to the love language, right?
Yes, definitely.
Once I understand what you're bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm. And we're not even talking physical.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I know when a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram and talk about what you bring to the table, if I'm going to put out this type of money, they're talking about physical.
Right.
I'm not even talking about the physical aspect. So let me just throw that out there for the people who are trying to,
Right. And we're in a couple seconds, we're about to address something. You was on a line right there, and it's perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this, and I mean, this is just an analogy, right? Because growing up, we used to play those the poly game, Pollyannis, whatever it was, Christmas time, and you bring all these gifts to the table, right? Everybody brings a gift. Yeah, and then it goes around the room, and then if you because everybody's pulling a number, if you happen to be the last one, you can choose any of those other gifts, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of seeing what everybody else is bringing to the table before you choose, which brings me to the where you kind of were talking about the physical, and this is all the physical I'm bringing. What we're talking about is some of the emotional, right? What you're bringing to it. So emotional, we're talking like trust, security, acceptance, affection, empathy, all these different emotional, right? So based on some of those, and then you can add something to that, Dr. Howell, as well. But my question is, what are the top emotional needs that you think, Dr. Howell, from what you have seen and some of the people you have counseled, and throughout the world, the area, what are some of the top emotional needs that you see that are important in a relationship? Not that all of them are important, but some people may say trust is number one. My notion of trust, you know what I mean? But what are some of those top needs, and maybe you can expound on some of those?
To me, I did a presentation a year ago, and I was telling the couples that trust to me is not number one, and communication is not even number one. To me, connection is number one. Because if I connect to you in a positive way, the communication is also going to be positive. And the trust is going to come along with it as an added bonus. See, people talk about, I got to be able to trust my man, and I got to be able to trust my woman. Nah, choose better. Take your time and pick the person that you're trying to be with. You know what I'm saying? And look for red flags. And if you see a red flag, address it. A lot of times we play games in relationships. People show you all the signs, and then you kind of say, I can change this person. When people show you who they are, believe them. People tend not to change. It's not easy to change. Before you can change a habit, you have to change your identity. You have to change the way you see yourself before you can change your actions. So you see the drug addict talking about, I'm a drug addict. As long as he believes he's a drug addict, it's going to be hard for him to accept any other narrative. And so whatever you focus on, you become. If I'm looking for a cheater, I'm going to see, I'm going to be looking, I'm going to be peeping, I'm going to be stressed out, I'm going to be doing all this stuff, trying to find you cheating, trying to catch you in a lie and cheating and stuff. And in the process, my behavior might actually cause my partner to cheat because I'm treating them like they're already cheating. And so I am creating an environment where that possibility may not have been a possibility, but because I keep accusing them and because I keep bringing that energy into the relationship, it could happen.
Wow.
So you can induce a toxic relationship without it even being there. And then because of confirmation bias, I said, see, look, I knew all men were dogs, but I caused that because I created an environment of distrust and I focused on all the negative and I amplified it until it happened. Now, getting back to this, what are my most important traits? Emotional intelligence. I need to know what my emotional intelligence is. or I need to know what my emotional traits are.
Right.
And I need to be aware of my partner's emotional traits. That's number one. Number two, I need to be able to assess and control my emotional state on a regular basis. So I need to be able to maintain my emotional energy. And so if I wake up and I catch myself in an emotional unrest state, I need to be able to catch that, assess it, and change it. Because some people go into relationships talking about, yeah, I haven't had my coffee yet, so stay away from me.
Right, exactly.
Control your emotions until you drink coffee.
Wow.
But you're telling me you refuse to take control of your emotions. You're going to let a drink control how you respond to me, whether you snapping at me or not. And then last but not least, I believe in emotional fitness, which basically means, am I emotionally fit? Am I emotionally healthy, or am I emotional sloth? Am I laying around expecting someone else to bring me happiness? Am I laying around expecting someone else to bring me joy, bring me excitement? Or am I getting up and doing stuff myself?
Right.
And so a lot of times in relationships, people want to be entertained. My job is not to entertain you. My job is not to make you happy. My job is to add resources to your life, add value to your life, so I can amplify the happiness in your life, not to bring happiness into your life. And a lot of times we link up with people, marry people, date people because we feel something that's missing. Well, that thing that's missing, we need to fix ourselves. And then have someone who has our back, not someone to pick you up and take you along life, but someone who is there to encourage you when you're down, someone who is there to make sure that where you're weak, they're strong. But here's something I heard Jim Rohn say this week. He said people used to say, hey, I look out for you and you look out for me. And he was like, man, I got hurt so many times.
Wow.
When I was looking out for people and they weren't looking out for me. He said, I came up with a better saying. And the saying is, I look out for you by taking care of me. And you look out for me by taking care of you. That means we have our own responsibility of self-improvement. So as I'm working on improving myself, now I'm adding more value to you. I'm adding more, I'm amplifying what you already have. And then once we start to collaborate, we can accelerate what our vision for the future. A lot of times we don't even know what we want out of a relationship, and we dating people and we don't even know what next year looks like for us. And so how can I help you if you don't even know what direction you're going in?
That's true.
And so I'm trying to go left, you trying to go right, but you look good. So I try to hook up with you. But now all of a sudden it's nothing but conflict all the time because our purposes aren't aligned. And so for me, the most important thing that I look for is, can you be intimate? Can you be vulnerable? Can you be open? Can you actively communicate? Can you put your cell phone down and talk to me?
Right.
Can you respect the relationship and not let everybody else influence the way you think? And do you have a bunch of single friends telling you what you should and should not put up with? And then you keep bringing that energy into the relationship, and then you end up single like the rest of your friends.
Right.
Because a lot of times you should never talk to single people about married people stuff. Find older people who are mentors, who have gone through the struggle, who can help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're asking a bunch of people who have never had a long-term relationship, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? They don't know.
Right.
And you listen to you listen to single people, you will end up single. You listen to broke people, you will end up broke. You listen to people who are homeless, you might end up homeless because they're telling you stuff that they have no understanding of.
Right.
And so I need somebody who's vulnerable. I need somebody who's willing to take chances with me. I need someone who is willing to prop me up when I'm down, because I'm going to do the same for you. I need someone who is willing to spend quality time, have physical touch, and do all the love language stuff. But last but not least, I need somebody to grow with me.
All right.
If you're not willing to learn, self-improve, and grow in the direction that we both going in, then eventually somebody's going to get left behind.
That's true. That is true. Listen, man. Wow. I mean, we've unpackaged a lot this evening, and we can go on and on. I had another question, but I think I want to hold off on that one
Okay.
because it's going to take us in a little different direction. And I think where we just kind of ended kind of helped to create this understanding of the first steps, the second steps, and that third step in beginning a relationship walk, right? From the inception of that first date, right,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you're trying to go and where you want to be, and in between that, taking a step back to, as you mentioned, if this relationship is going to work, right, the best thing I can do for you is to take care of me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And if I take care of me and you're taking care of yourself, our relationship is going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to learn from one another. We're going to continue to open up. We're going to continue to unpackage gifts, understand our talents. And as we understand our talents, I'm able to appreciate and understand who you are and where you want to go. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, did I kind of say that? Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
but I want to add two caveats to that. The
Mm-hmm.
first caveat is this: when you say taking care of me so I can take care of you, we're not talking about grabbing and being selfish. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about self-development.
There you go.
That's the first caveat. So I'm taking care of me by making sure my emotional intelligence is strong.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just taking care of your emotions, you're watching my emotions. So when you see that I'm down and out, you don't crush me. You kind of find a way to encourage me and build me up. That's what I'm looking for too. And the second caveat is this: you need to know what you want out of your relationship. You need to know what you want out of life. A lot of times people don't know what they want out of life. So when somebody says, "Hey, what do you bring to the table?" You don't even know what your positive traits are.
Right.
So how can you use your positive traits to help you get anything in life?
Wow.
So you must know who you are and what your talents. Everybody has at least one talent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know how to take that one talent and move towards where you're trying to be by the time you retire. So you're actually going in a particular purpose. Because if you're going in a particular purpose and you're doing things to get you to your long-term goal, you're going to attract certain types of people.
Hmm.
So if you're actively doing stuff, the law of attraction say you will attract like-minded people. So a lot of times, if you are the type of person who keeps attracting the wrong type of people, it's because you're not doing what the people who you're trying to attract are doing.
Hmm.
So you will continually get what you're getting until you change you, and you can't change your actions until you change your identity.
Right.
In other words, you have to make a decision to change before the actions actually become consistent.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Hey, those who are watching, you may be watching this live, or you may be watching this in syndication. But we want you to put some feedback in. And the question I'd like to always ask at the end of the night, Dr. Howell, is, can you relate to this? You know what I mean? Can
Yeah.
you relate to what we're putting out? Can you relate to what's being said? Can you relate to the fact that in order for a relationship to work, there's a lot of work that needs to be put into the work, so that after you put in the work, you're able to take a breath, take a seat, and enjoy the ride. Now, I say the ride, and I know at some point Dr. Howell's going to, one of these shows, he's gonna unpackage what it means to ride. You know what I mean? Because that can be unpackaged so many different ways. But yeah, the question we have for you tonight, to our listeners, is, can you relate to this? That's really what we want to know. Can you relate to this? And if you can, why don't you subscribe? Put it in the chat and say, hey, listen, I can relate to this. And we're going to look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes, sir.
So listen, have a good night, and we'll look forward to our next show, our next program in a week or two. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Good night.